Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Your Soul Revolution. I'm so excited to have Kim Wellington with us today. She is a transformation and mindset coach, and she guides others to be aligned and free using both human design and rapid resolution therapy or RRT. So, welcome, Kim. Thank you for being here.
Oh, hello, and thank you for having me.
I I'm like, I don't know, 15 or so episodes into this podcast. I had one before,
Mm.
and I'm just like being very unapologetic in who I have on here. And I just want to I don't know, light up the world and like talk about souls who are really following like their own path in life. And when I came across you, I knew you were one of them. And
Aw.
we've barely chatted
So
online.
I'm definitely doing my job right. That's good.
So maybe let's start there. Like, how did,
Yeah,
because you seem like, and I say seem because Instagram, right? But
right.
like you've created a life of alignment and freedom, which is what you help others do. So maybe start out by sharing how you got there, what got in the way of that, and the things you've worked through on your
Yeah,
path there.
yeah. It's definitely been a great journey. I obviously was born in South Africa. I live in America now. I have been here for almost 20 years, and I've always been a very curious person, very intrigued, and I feel like people watching is probably one of my favorite things because it's so fascinating to draw in and understand and learn and try to, really break down what's happening in the world around us. And obviously that doesn't stop there. It starts with yourself, right? So I've always just wanted to understand myself within the world around me. And, I had very big traumas in my younger years in life and living in South Africa, and ended up in New York City and was working in the corporate world and just miserable. I was, doing all the things, checking all the boxes that you're supposed to be doing to feel success and be happy and have abundance, but none of that was genuinely feeling. It may have looked like it on the outside, but I didn't feel that at all. Like I was miserable, hated my job, and I just knew there was something inside of me that I was like destined for so much more. And I was very fortunate. My husband, who is my husband now, but I had a previous husband, so I also went through that experience. But my husband now, he is an entrepreneur, and really just inspired me to start my own company. And I kind of just jumped into the deep end and did that in New York City. But it was so out of alignment. It was what I thought, from the mental place of what I should be doing. And so I jumped in, started this company. It was all, I mean, it was somewhat in alignment. It wasn't like I was trying to sell, knitwear or something. I was literally in the health and wellness, and I was doing health food. But I was, doing all the wrong things, like trying to get investors, I did a whole business plan, which was at the time felt so squashing for me, but I was like, this is what I have to do, in order to be successful. And it just never materialized because I just kept feeling so much resistance, but I just kept going. And then I had this business. I eventually had to let it go because it was just not doing anything really. So, and then I became a mom, and I thought, okay, I'm going to be a stay at home full time mom for the rest of my life. And then I got into about 6 months of that and realized this is not for me. Like I have so much more to give. But I've always been into like human psyche and understanding people and why people do certain things and what makes people tick, and kind of like really getting to understand the depths of our souls and our humanness. And that's really when I discovered human design. And it was like being thrown at me from every angle. I felt like it was just like left, right, and center. It was human design, human design. And I was like, okay, really, I got to get into this. And it felt like literally when I started learning about my design and about human design, I just felt this floodgate open. I felt this deep connection. I felt this fire inside my body that I hadn't felt in forever. And I just knew that I had to follow this path. And so I just kept like picking up the breadcrumbs and following like bit by bit. But it started feeling more aligned as I was going down this journey and getting into this rabbit hole of human design. And this was 6, 7 years ago. So before human design was as trendy as it is now, and there was not as much information about it out there. I really had to dig deep and search, and it was very archaic, but something about it just spoke to my soul, like literally. And I had my first human design reading. Um, and yeah, it opened up this whole new world where I was just like, whoa, okay. Then I went and did ayahuasca. And literally in my journey, the whole thing was about me following human design, and that this was my path. And so I just knew I was on the right path. So then I started my human design. I obviously studied it. I, went through my own certification, and then I started my company. I built the website, did all the things, and things just started happening in this like flow and ease in my life that I'd never experienced before. Which made me just keep knowing that I was on the right path. Like this was it. And so I just, one foot at the time, kept doing it. I never had to like go out of my way to like market myself. Everything was just natural. People would come to me. I would have so many referrals, and it was just this natural progression. And so I started this experiment, which we call it the human design experiment. And my experiment kept proving itself to me over and over again. And so I just was like, and my life started changing from the outside. Well, from the inside first, obviously, because I started feeling more aligned. I started feeling more joy, started feeling more passion, feeling more fulfilled, like I'd never felt before. And so that then was like this, trickle effect. And then I started like seeing so many clients that came to me, and it was beautiful because everyone wanted to have this blueprint, this energy understanding of themselves to move forward. But every single person that came to me was stuck with some kind of trauma, had some kind of baggage that they were holding so deeply onto that it prevented them from really jumping deep into understanding or living their design. And the same was true for myself too. So I started getting, and it was literally also the beginning of COVID. So it was this deep, dark churning of events for my soul as well. Like I started doing a lot of trauma healing myself. And it was like pivotal because it was like I was trauma healing. I was being faced with people with a lot of trauma and not knowing how to help them. And I really desired to be that full package to help people heal their trauma and move forward. For me, I believe that human suffering, obviously there is human suffering on the planet and we've all experienced it, but it doesn't have to be that way all the time, right? There are incredible tools to help people feel free and feel aligned. And for me, like that's when I went down another rabbit hole of trauma work and learning about trauma and figuring out what was the best mode or modality to heal. And I went through everything. I mean, like I said, I did it all. I did the plant medicine. I saw shamans. I did energy healing work. I did all the meditations, the subconscious rewiring, breath work, visualizations. I read every book. I went to every guru. And I discovered rapid resolution therapy. And for me, that was the key missing ingredient that I felt like I'd been looking for all along. It just was like that missing piece of the puzzle that as I put it in, the whole picture just like made so much sense to me. And so then I dove deep into studying RRT, and it's been, almost 2 years, just shy of 2 years coming up. I guess not a year and a half. Where are we? July.
2 years.
I'm so not I don't function in time anymore. It's so funny. I'm like, I don't even know what day it is. Um, so yeah, year and a half, I guess, of RRT. And I just started incorporating it into my business very slowly. And again, just started noticing massive, massive effects. With myself, obviously then went through my own trauma healing. Even after doing all this trauma healing that I did EMDR, talk therapy, I felt that I had dealt with my trauma, but little did I know that it was actually still stuck subconsciously. Like I dealt with it consciously, but subconsciously it was still playing out in my life. And my life so beautifully showed me that because I was being faced with things in my like direct existence that were like, you know, triggers or whatever you want to call them, mirrors. So I had my own RRT, and it was just like, whoa, life changing.
Mm.
um, and so for me, it really has been this beautiful journey of finding alignment with human design, and then being free to allow or to be open to really stepping into that alignment where my life just now flows. Like I really don't feel like I try too hard, which sounds crazy, but I feel like that's how it's supposed to be. When you are in alignment and you're doing what your soul contracted or meant to be doing in this timeline, then things start to really open up for you, and the world starts to support you in the most beautiful way. And so time and again, I'm just, again, as I'm shown that this experiment is proving itself to me, the more I want to give that to others. And that's obviously that now the premise and the basis of my business is I do both. So I now do human design readings and rapid resolution therapy sessions. And it's a fascinating combination because they work really well together, and just so effective and helpful and useful in bringing people to a place of not suffering. And to me, that is like my goal and my intention in life, is to really show people that like life can be beautiful and you can actually have an incredible life and really just play and enjoy it without, being sucked into the past or the future, and being distracted by thought, when you can really just live in the present moment.
I love that so much. Everything. All of it. Yes. Agreed. Um, I guess like so let's start with human design because you found that first. You've been
Yes.
using that for longer. Um, what are the biggest, and especially I love that you started, like you said, before it went and got crazy all over the place, because I think it's
Yeah.
kind of like um there's a lot of nuance that I think can be like
Mm.
only understood when you dive deep into it. And I guess,
Yeah.
what are some of the things you've learned about human design that like people misunderstand?
I would say that again, like it brings me back to just the thing that's popping to my mind is like it's an experiment. Like again, it's not the ultimate truth. It's not the only way, but I find it to be a helpful way and a useful way of navigating life. Like, why wouldn't you have a tool that helps you go through life with much more ease and flow? Right. And I think again, like when you find yourself being too dogmatic or like this is the only truth, that limits you, right? And I'm not here to like feel limited myself. Like I'm all about expansion. Someone could come to me and be like, this is absolute nonsense. I'm like, I believe you because maybe for you it is, right? Like I think again, and that's with anything in life, I think just knowing and being open minded. But as I say that, I'm like, I know with my chart, I am my mind center is open minded, so I'm able to see,
Mm,
the different aspects and ways. But other people have, defined mind centers, and so for them, they're not here to have that open mindedness. So, but that's my gift to bring to the world, right? Is to bring that open mindedness to show like there are multiple different ways to do this, to roll this ball, but this is the way that I have found that is to for me and my clients has been the most useful and the most effective. But again, like I could be proven wrong anytime, and I'm open to that. So I think it's about really being open and really not like taking everything that somebody tells you as face value on
mm,
human design, because I think that can really then paint, you'll get stuck in another box, in another label, right? Whereas like if you just solely believe, well, this is the way my design said and that's it, then that's to me against the whole premise of it.
mhm,
It's again really the thing that I find is like ultimately the key. Like a human design chart is quite complex, right? It really does take some someone to help you understand it, like a translator, which is what I like to call myself. Like I'm a human design translator. But the key that I literally tell people is like, ultimately, if you can just learn to listen to your own energy system and your own body, that's the key to everything. Everything. But it's become so clouded by trauma, by the external world. But that to me is the journey, right? That is the essence of what we're here to do, is come back to our own inner wisdom, our own inner power. And that is ultimately what I guide people to do, what I intend for people to connect to that inner wisdom. And it's through alignment and freedom, right? Where you're free of the BS of the world around you and you're so aligned on your own path that it doesn't matter what Joe Schmo says or Katie down the lane is doing, because you're so connected to your inner wisdom. Even if your design told you that you have this certain trait and it doesn't sink in with you, well, okay, go on a journey with it. Don't just believe it at face value. And I think there's also a couple of different interpretations of things that I've learned along the way that people have, of like different gates and just different centers, that again, it's like, well, which one is it? And again, it's like, well, use your own system to feel into what that energy, what that message, if that message makes you feel closed or open. That's literally it. It's like, how does it make you feel in your body? Does it make you feel good, or like, oh yes, I love this? Or does it make you feel like, oh my gosh, no, that's awful? That's the key. That's literally the key.
I love it. I can hear like the RT words.
I know.
Like, is it useful? Um, no, but
I've really had to change my vernacular, but in the greatest way, because it's again, it's just the most useful way of, and it's the whole thing with RRT about it being, it's like, we don't say this is the ultimate truth. And I love that. I love that about it. And I think that's why I gravitated towards it so much, because I'm like, yes, finally, someone who's not like up there preaching and saying, this is it, people, this is the only way, because that's, again, BS.
yeah,
Like, this is my issue with the whole health industry in general. It's like everybody's energetic system is different. So what works for one person doesn't work for another.
yeah.
So let's stop saying that, having these programs and things saying like, well, this is the only way to lose weight. Well, yeah, that may work for like a certain number of people, but let's state that it's not for everybody, right? So that people don't get sucked into marketing.
But that's the thing, right? I mean, yeah, like I feel like I just wanted to say there is no one size fits all and get like a bumper sticker on my fucking car with it, because people, it like, even when you
Seriously.
say it, it's like people, it's like it doesn't
I know.
sink in. And
I think it's become so common that they don't actually listen to what it actually means. It's just become like a saying,
yeah,
but nobody actually is taking it to heart, when that is literally the essence of life. Like, and what's really fascinating is that we are moving towards 2027, which in human design is a really powerful year. And it's all about us coming back to our own inner authority and not giving away our power to anybody out there anymore, right? Because nobody out there actually knows what's best for you and your body. People can guide you. Sure, you can get blood work and different tests and things to help guide you. But at the end of the day, ultimately, you make the last decision. And it's about learning how to be so connected to that inner wisdom, that inner light that you are, to know like, okay, like this is what's meant for me. And that's what's going to help my body be in the most like optimal place, so that I can like live my life in alignment and be in purpose to whatever it is I'm here to do. Right.
oh, I knew you were gonna be so fucking good.
Give me a
Like,
microphone. I can't.
I didn't even have to like tell you what to say. Like we're so aligned in like everything I talk about on the podcast already. But um, yeah, I guess so. Like so many thoughts. Um, what were some of the, as you starting out, right? And you found human design and you're like, you're like, this feels right. Something here just clicks. Like, what were some of the big things where you were just like, yes, like it was like that full body,
Yeah,
fuck yes. And like, this is here. Like you said, it's a
total.
tool, but it's the right tool for me.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, great question. For me, I think like I live my life a lot being the black sheep, right? Being the odd one out, or doing things differently. I was always like the weird one, or and for the first time ever, my design showed me where elements of like the way that I was feeling to do something, but I felt so squashed by society. I was always like called out, or I was, like I had home births and people thought I was weird. I was like this, but my design showed me that the way I genuinely was connecting to things was who I was here to be.
Mm.
So it gave me permission to be so authentically and truly myself that when I stepped into that power, all the bullshit of the world fell away. All the like things that I thought the world was questioning me was because I was only questioning myself because I wasn't fully connected to it either. Because I didn't feel like I was allowed to. That's why I'm so passionate about teaching human design to kids, because I feel like it's the most valuable thing that you can understand about yourself when you're a child. Because again, you get put into the school system that does things in a very boxed, linear way. But not everybody's like that. And I went to a private school in South Africa. It was very like you had to wear uniforms and you had to have, you couldn't have piercings, you couldn't have this, that, and the next thing. And like, self-expression was very much squashed. So, that's hard because as a child, you're just discovering yourself, and like creative expression is one of the biggest parts of it, which is why I will never send my kids to a school. Which is why my kids have never, they went to like, forest school. So I feel like there were just elements that really just rang true. And I have never in 6 years had a reading with anyone in human design where somebody was like, oh, that's not me. Oh, that doesn't sound anything like me. It's every time I'm blown away because people are like, oh my gosh, that is me. That is who I truly am and who I want to be. But I've felt so shy or not confident, or like, I'm not allowed to do that because society is telling me opposite. And I'm like, but this is who your soul is calling you to be. And when you step into that, like again, that's when alignment happens. When you're in alignment, like I said, literally the chains just come apart and you feel the sense of freedom. And I think for me, knowing that I was a manifesting generator, which meant I was here to do multiple different things all at the same time, was so freeing for me, because I kept feeling like I had to be in this box. I had to do this thing, stick to one path, and then you'll be successful. And I never felt like that was me. And it's so true to who I am now. I've gone through so many different iterations of myself. And now I do human design and RRT, which is so aligned with my manifesting generator self. And then now something that really stands out for me is my profile is a 6-2. And twos really, really need alone time in order to like hone in on their gifts and their genius. And I love my alone time. So now I never feel guilty about receiving it or getting it or asking for it, because I have a family, I have 2 kids and a husband. And when I need my time, my husband knows. I say, hey, I'm going to go and take a walk. I'm going to go be by myself. I'm going to go sit on the beach and be by myself, or whatever it is. And he's like, great, awesome. Because he knows that when I activate and step into that side of me that I so need, or it's just so, much of who I am, I become a better person. Especially like, I have a big family. I'm around my family a lot. And when I'm around a lot of social events, I'm a very social person. I'm a Libra sun. So, I, I, I come away and I'm like, I need to be alone. Like, everybody leave me alone. So it has been hard and challenging with being a mom, but at the same time, I prioritize my me time. And so those are like little elements that I've learned along the way with this experiment that again have just helped me know that I do it without guilt. I do it without like overthinking or anything. I just know, because that on the other side of it is the more authentic me. So just actually in it is the more authentic me. When I'm taking that time and saying, this is what I need, it like gives you permission to just truly speak up for yourself, and that's again why I love doing relationship readings, because often there's one person in a relationship who has completely different needs to the other one, and there's like this conditioning which we're exposed to all the time in the world around us, and that's what's preventing people from really being themselves, right? So yeah, those are like two big things that really stand out for me now as we're talking about it. Just what really, and then I mean, and those were like the overarching things. And as I got deeper and deeper into like my gifts and my centers, like it just helps you understand
Mm.
yourself in relation to the world around you and in relation to others. That it just kept showing me again and again, like, wow, this is so freeing, so freeing. Like that's, I don't know why anybody doesn't want to know that.
I know,
I'm like, we should be teaching this in schools, you know?
literally, like human design,
I
emotional,
really,
like,
yeah, no, I approached my son's school and I was like, because he went to this very, very progressive, like outdoor based school. And I was like, we should be teaching this to the teachers and the kids. Like, this is the most profound way to really let these kids shine. But anyway,
yeah.
well, that'll be another journey.
I know my boyfriend's daughter just turned 16, and for Christmas last year I gave her like a full human design reading that I like
Oh,
put in like a
amazing. Oh,
PDF for her. And I was like, listen, she's probably going to read it and then put it aside. I'm like, even if she gets like 5% out of
yeah,
this, like it's going to give her permission to be herself. And like you said, I see kids, especially in their teens, like, and I
yeah,
think back to when I was that age, just like trying to fit in, but I never felt like
yeah,
I did. But I was like,
yeah.
I just want to be like everyone else. Like, I just want to
Oh,
have
cool.
two parents and a bigger house and a whatever it is, right? For whatever reason. And like now I'm like, oh my God, no, I never fit in. I now fuck fitting in. Like,
Exactly. No, absolutely. And that, I mean, geez, that's actually a great name for a workshop. Fuck fitting in. I'm always, always thinking. Oh, no, really. And I agree so much with that. And it's so fascinating. Like, again, I wish I'd known this stuff when I was a teenager or a child, but that wasn't the case. And that wasn't part of our journey. And I think having the polarity of it and seeing what we did go through without it helps me understand it even more, right? So like I appreciate this gift even more.
yeah,
And now I have these two beautiful boys that I guide them individually based on their designs.
mm,
And to me, like that's the best gift I can give my children, is to not condition them, is to not put them in these boxes of society. And I think like it is the pressure, and conditioning is huge. And it's a big thing that we talk about in human design, right? Is the whoa, all the programming that we're exposed to
mm,
on a daily basis, like non-stop, right? And that's from like parents, school, society, friends, all of the above, right? I mean, the pressure, you see it so much in the world around us. And yeah, again, I just, if there was like, this to me is like kind of like the guidebook that I think everyone should get when their kids are born.
yeah,
You know, like the printed PDF that you give her, like I think every parent should have that,
yeah,
because it eliminates so much unknown,
yeah,
and it's empowering.
yeah,
It's empowering. That to me is exactly what it is. It's an empowering tool, because then you can guide from a place of like, okay, I'm not just like throwing shit at a wall here. Like I literally
yeah.
have a little bit more of a direction of how to allow this child to eat or sleep or, play, whatever it is. So yeah,
Even like
that's a big part.
knowing themselves and making the right decision. Like to me,
Yeah.
it's so like being a parent is like so complicated and there's so much, but then if you
It's hard
simplify
enough
it,
as it is.
really like
Yeah.
if you just teach a kid how to be themselves, love them for who they are, and show them how to make the right decision for themselves in life, like they don't
Yeah.
need anything else. And like like full love and support and obviously, but like
Yeah. No,
it's
absolutely.
like I just love how you said it's empowering. I think like we all just need permission to be ourselves. Like, who cares if we're weird? Like, I embrace when someone like calls
Absolutely.
me a weirdo.
Yeah.
I'm like, thank you.
Yeah. I know. I do too now. But like, and I did all actually through my teen years. it didn't really like affect me so much. I think I was very much like such an individual. I have such individual channels that I didn't allow it or just didn't affect me as much. There were parts of it or parts of some things that did, like the pressure to be this, that, and the next thing. But at the same time, I was like, I loved my weirdness. I really embraced a lot of it. Like, I have just always been me.
Hmm.
I have very much just been like, well, this is me, like, take it or leave it. Right. And I'm so grateful for that element of myself because it's allowed me to fully step into this business and work with people from such an authentic place of like, well, and I know like I'm not for everyone. And I'm okay with that. Like, I don't really care. Like, if you don't want to work with me, please, it's nothing to me. But the right people are attracted to me,
Mm.
right? And they will gain so much because there's a connection of energy, right? And an energy exchange that to me is like valuable. And I still learn so much more from my clients. Funnily enough, like, and that's actually part of my design as well through my 6-2. I learn through teaching.
Mm.
I absolutely learn through teaching. And it shows me that all the time because I'm learning through the individuality of each client how this applies to their specific scenario, right? And so I can interpret it in that way. And then it actually like I teach myself through that interpretation. I'm like, oh wow, yeah. So it's an ever-ending gift. And it's just like I mean, I will follow it until it doesn't light me up anymore.
Yeah. I think it's so beautiful, like you said, like allowing us to be ourselves. Like the only way we can find the things meant for us, the people meant for us, the relationships, the clients, all the things is by being fully ourselves. If we're holding back
Absolutely.
or
Yeah.
playing
Yeah.
small, people are going to be like, I'm not really sure about her. Like, and
Yeah, absolutely.
I was listening to a podcast and they were saying like, you're the best at being you. I'm the best at being me. We can do the same
Yeah,
thing. We attract different clients. We all resonate with different people and it's all okay. Like there's enough space for all of us.
absolutely. Absolutely. And I think like RRT has been such a beautiful representation of that for me because the whole RRT community, we've all become like kind of friends. It's been really nice, but there doesn't feel like any competition.
Mm.
Even though we're all doing like the same thing, we're all working with clients, there's no competition because there isn't competition. Because the more I share it, the more people become aware, and maybe somebody I'm not for somebody, but they'll be attracted to somebody else in my community. And I'm at the end of the day, I'm much more into like somebody releasing suffering and finding peace than caring about like me getting paid for that.
Yeah.
Like that's not my intention at all, right? And so 100%. And I think like again, why the piece of RRT became such a valuable part of the equation for me was exactly to that point is that a lot of the time people aren't able to be authentic and they are easily persuaded by the world around them because they have so much trauma,
Mm.
or not even so much. It might just be a little, but there's something preventing them from stepping into that realness of themselves. And that's like limiting beliefs, emotional stress, anxiety, fears, guilt, all of those things, right? So it's not just like big trauma that we shift.
Mhm.
It's also just small things that are preventing people from fully stepping into their power, right? The fear of being seen, the fear of starting a business, the guilt of like, well, how I'm going to spend time with my family if I have my own business, all these things. So it's like simple little things that are huge in holding somebody back from really being themselves. So again, that's why I love these two tools together, because I can then notice when somebody has that fear or is feeling anxiety or stress about something that is preventing them, and then I can just quickly dissolve that and then we move on,
Yeah.
right? And it's long lasting. It's not like a band-aid. We're literally going to the root cause of these things, right? And so another thing I just feel like sharing is that I do believe that like having a child under, or having a parent and a child under, have that human design as part of the relationship dynamic within a family prevents a lot of those smaller
Mm.
traumas from happening, right? From a child then growing up to feeling like not good enough and then not being able to step into those things. So it's going to be really fascinating. Like, I'm really intrigued to watch this generation of young kids who do know their
Yeah.
designs, you know, who are taught at least by their family and their moms or whatever it is, their caregivers, who guide them according to their designs. And then, yeah, seeing where, if, how that helps them in life. I don't know. It's going to be very interesting. It's a whole new experiment, right? Because
Yeah.
this is a new, this tool is still so new that there's very few I mean, the generations, I mean, it's only been around for like, a couple of years. So it's not hundreds of years. So, it's like these are the first generations of kids that are going to be, at least more of them, I would
Yeah.
say. More of them. Of course, they were like back in the day, some, but very few and far between, if
Yeah.
that makes sense.
No, I love it. I think you're right. It's going to be like, especially as, like you said, moving into like giving more permission to be authentic and like be ourselves and really following that. And it, even like you said with RRT, like I mean, there's enough suffering in the world for every every other person to learn RRT. Like, even if it's just for yourself, like
Yeah.
there's a lot of it to be dissolved. So let's move
Yeah.
into RRT because I'm
Yeah.
just like, I feel like that combination is like potent
Yeah.
magic. And I'm sure, like you said, you saw pre RRT human design and post RRT human design.
Totally.
What are some of the, because I just remember like you said, like, so I also have an open head, but I feel like I'm open to everything. And I say, like, I'm always the student. And I remember sitting in the certification, the intro course for RRT, and like, I feel like so many things I thought I knew were just like flipped on their head, like in the
Oh, yeah.
best way possible. I was like, wait, this is
Yeah.
easier. Wait, this is better. Oh, yeah, way more useful. Like, what are the first couple things where you were like, this is the missing piece?
Yeah, I think the fact that it really explains how the mind works in such a simplified way, and breaking it down into the conscious mind and the subconscious mind, right? Because like I don't believe we've ever really been taught that.
Mm,
And again, it goes back to like, I wish we could. I've started teaching my kids this, right? And my case in point right now, my son, he was dealing with some fear. And so I was explaining to him, like, well, he was like, where does this fear come from? Right. And I was like, well, it's really comes from your subconscious. But no one's really been taught that. We just
mm,
think that, oh, we can choose our thoughts and emotions, but we don't see it through that lens in RRT. And I think like that's the biggest eye-opening part of it, is really just understanding how the mind operates, right? And when I say mind, I'm talking about subconscious mind, that we do have these different layers or different minds,
mhm,
conscious versus subconscious, and they have different roles and they do different things. They both speak different languages, which is where the disconnect comes from, right? And so like just understanding that,
mm,
and that's what we do, is really explaining and helping people get that on an intellectual level. And then really shifting things from that subconscious, because to me that's the missing key, right? You go and do talk therapy and all these other modalities that are really mostly dealing with the conscious mind. And the conscious mind is all about logic and strategy, but that's not where our traumas are stored. They're
mm.
stored in the subconscious. Well, sorry, I should say that the data or the information of the traumas. Our traumas are not stored, but the data and information of those like the memories,
Yeah.
those are stored in the subconscious. And so you need to go to the root. You need to go to the root cause, right? It's like the same thing with the health industry. I think like a lot of health problems, they just put a band-aid on something, but somebody's still dealing with a million things. This is like functional medicine. RRT to me is like functional medicine for the mind, right? It literally is dealing and going to the root cause. And then the way we do it is so gentle and so effective that the results are just, they just roll out so organically and naturally that you really don't like even notice that you are not thinking about the fear anymore, or the guilt, or how people think of you, until like weeks later you're like, wow, I used to feel that or think that, but I haven't even, that hasn't even occurred to me.
Mm,
So the approach, the learning and understanding, and then the way we run a session is just so beautiful. Like it's so much more effective, um, where you don't have to sit, for weeks on end, every week at 11 o'clock on a Wednesday, having a paid friendship, where you're actually shifting things from the root.
Yeah.
And that's, to me, is I'm all about like efficiencies, right?
Yeah.
I only got this one life to live. Like I'm not here to spend years and months in therapy. Like that to me is like not useful,
Yeah.
right? I'm about like biohacking the mind, right? Like let's figure out how we can efficiently move forward in the most effective way.
Yeah.
So that's why RRT, again, like just the more I got into it and the more I was just like, damn, this is boom, boom, boom. It just kept ticking all these boxes and connecting to the way that I saw things and to a way that I understood it so easily and quickly. I was just like, yes, like you were saying, it was just like, yes, yes, this is way easier. Like, why
Yeah.
are we wasting time? And again, it's like, I feel so passionate about these things. I want to like scream them from the mountaintop, right? Like I'm just this, because I see how effective they are.
Yeah.
I see how life changing, like literally life changing, and life saving.
Yeah.
The amount of people that are coming from the depths of despair and can turn their life around in like one session is just like mind blowing to me.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I that's why I'm so passionate about it. I'm so connected to it. I love the community that I'm in with it. I love Dr. John Connolly. He is just a brilliant man. I find much entertainment like learning from him and listening to him. And yeah, I feel like I'm a better person every time I come out of those learnings,
Yeah. I obviously I did the course like a year and a half ago, and like I was saying earlier, I haven't really done anything with it. But I have done like sessions myself when I found it, even before the course. Like I did a couple, and I was just like, oh my God, like how did I not find this before? Like you said, it's just
I
like,
know.
why are we
How did you
wasting
discover?
years?
I know. How did you discover RRT?
Through Andrea Crowder.
Mm,
Um,
yeah,
came across her online, and I was like, what is this sorcery?
yeah,
And how do I
exactly.
find out more?
It literally is. I mean, we call John, Dr. John the wizard. He really is. It is like magic. You watch
Yeah.
some sessions and you're like, wow, that is magic.
Yeah.
But it's real.
Yeah.
And it's also kind of why we call it this invisible cure, because it's so deep and so natural and organic that like you don't realize it until like a way later. But your life is elevated and upgraded in the most like, it's like if you see a child, you see your own child every day, right? You don't notice their growth because you're seeing it happen every day. So, but if your child went away for a week to your grandmother's, his grandmother's house, you'd come back and be like, wow, you've actually grown.
Yeah.
You have a couple of different words that you now say. So it's like you takes that little like perspective shift really to then look at it from a different angle. Then that's when you realize like, holy moly, my life is so different.
Yeah.
Like I think the 2 years actually comes for me. That's why I say 2 years about RRT, because I discovered RRT. Had my first RRT session 2 years ago.
Mm,
And if I look back now at the 2 years and how much my life has changed, how much I've just changed
yeah.
individually, and how much my life has changed, it's just profound. It's insane.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I love that like there's so many people. I mean, obviously I'm biased because I like curate my social media with all the people like um who are into that sort of thing. So I see like
Yeah.
a lot of people talking about it, but I know in general they're like we need way more. But I just think it's like I've been talking about it for yeah, probably almost 2 years. My boyfriend actually went to a couple sessions himself, and
Amazing.
his son as
Love that.
well. So I'm just like slowly like
Trickling it into the whole
I
family.
think
I love
like
it.
because it's
I'm like, I want to give out Christmas presents. I'm just like, RRT,
right.
RRT, RRT.
Seriously, I'm like, can you just
And human
ask someone
design,
if
human
they
design.
want like a session like without being
I think you could just give it.
inappropriate?
Yeah. No, I think you could just give it.
But
Whether they use it or not, that's the other thing.
but I think like you said, like there's a spectrum of trauma, right? And I think like a lot of people get into this like this is worse than this is worse than that and whatever. And it's like something can be so like seemingly small and it could
Yeah.
impact like what you're here to do, the career you're trying to create, the business you're trying to create, like and especially when you're a mom or when you're an entrepreneur, like life brings up your shit when you're on these
Oh
paths.
yeah.
And like
Yeah.
if you don't like like you said, you could be wasting years and years in therapy or trying to figure it out. It's like, what's useful? Like
Yeah,
what is most
absolutely.
effective and use that for you. Like it's different for everyone, but I think there's things like RT that like it's like what I'm like one for everyone. Like
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's interesting though. Like, I have come to realize because, um, it's a fascinating thing. Like, I think, it again comes down to like how much conditioning people or programming people are affected by, right? Because, yeah, I mean, the amount of times I tell people who are, like people who are struggling, really struggling, and they'll reach out to me. I've got this going on, like things that unthinkable things that they've gone through, and you present the solution, but there's still so much resistance
mm,
to a solution, and and that to me is fascinating, and I'm always so intrigued by that. I think I'm always asking the question, like, what differentiates somebody from like seeking out wanting to make a change,
mm,
knowing that I don't want to live like this anymore and there must be a better way, because that's where I was.
yeah,
I was that person. I am that person. I'm constantly like looking for solutions. And RRT has taught me that. And since I've cleared so much, I'm so solution driven now. I'm always like, okay, well, let's not focus on the problem. Let's look for solutions, right? But the mind is so by default a problem.
mm,
It's a problem finder because it wants to solve problems, so it needs to find problems to solve.
yeah,
So it's fault finding all the time, which is why our minds are constantly finding fault around us, within us, all, everywhere. So the dynamic of it is shown to me all the time, whereas I get it, but I'm like, then just like pull the trigger,
yeah,
like jump on board. But I think there's a comfort that people also have with their pain, and that's a thing within itself.
yeah,
So because they know no other way, or they don't believe that they deserve to not live with pain.
yeah,
So there's so many iterations. I've had to make peace because I'm like, I just want everyone to experience this. But I've had some clients who, like, who the sessions went really well. They cleared stuff, but then there's no, what's the word, like recourse or anything, and they don't really, because we call it this invisible cure. Like you really notice it until a ways later.
mm,
I actually just had a client email me, actually, and I worked with him like a couple months ago.
mm,
And he was like, "Wow, I only really see the fruits of our work now."
yeah,
And I'm like, "Yeah, it's an interesting thing, but we don't take any, with RRT, we don't take any credit for our work, right? Because we also don't put any pressure on our clients
hmm,
to shift and change. Like that's my job to shift you, but then I give all the credit to you when you do shift and change.
yeah,
So it's this interesting dynamic. But I've just come to learn that like some people will just be so into it, and some people will be taking something away, and they may not even know it, but their life is better in some way. And that's
yeah,
all that I actually care about, is that their life is elevated in some way or another,
yeah,
right? Where they pass on that more up leveled energy, and even if they're not aware of it, like I don't really care as long as I'm changing and shifting energy in a more positive direction.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And I mean, I think everyone's different too. Like I'm so I don't know. I don't know if it's all the Scorpio in my chart, but I like go deep, and I'm constantly like having deaths and
What's your
rebirths.
human design, by the way? I can't believe I haven't even asked you this.
I'm a 4-6 sacral generator.
Okay.
But I'm an unconscious projector, which I've been playing with
Okay.
like recently and
Yeah.
seeing like a lot more is resonating with me there. So it's like taking me in this whole new path that's
Yeah. Yeah.
super interesting. But yeah, so I think like I just like I don't know. Yeah, I don't like you. I think I have a hard time just understanding. I'm like, why wouldn't you want to just like go deep? Why wouldn't you want to change? Why wouldn't you want to do this, that? But like everyone is here, like you see in
Yeah.
their charts, everyone's here for a different reason with a different path for a different
Yeah.
karma. And we all have to, we can't convince anyone to do anything. All we can
Yeah.
do is embody our authentic self and shout it from the rooftops. And whoever
Absolutely.
hears, hears.
Exactly. And that goes back to like saying, like, I know I'm not for everyone and the right, but I just hope that my message hits the person who is looking for a
Mm,
solution and is ready to make a change, and then feel some kind of connection with me, that they jump on board, and then your life changes in the most profound way.
yeah,
Right. And then you pass that on to your kids and your relationships and your family. Like, that to me is like the ultimate.
yeah,
Right. But again, like, people will come and people will go, and not everyone's gonna join the party, and that's okay with me. Right.
yeah,
And again, that's like a lot of the part of what I had to clear up when I first kind of started business and doing this. As when you put yourself out there on social media, it's a bittersweet world,
yeah,
because there will always be people who like throw dirt at you, but there will people who love you and throw light at you. And so I just accept the light and accept the dirt all at the same time,
yeah,
because but I don't rub the dirt into my wounds. I just let it be and just let it fall right off my body. And so that's part of the process,
yeah,
right?
yeah. No,
It's never going to make me dim my authenticity. That's for sure. And
yeah.
that's what I've learned along the way.
Well, like in RT, like he teaches, like when someone else is going through their shit and talking to you, like you're not learning anything about you, you're learning something
Yes,
about them. And so
about
it's
them. Absolutely.
by being so confident in yourself, knowing who you are through all of these tools, then it's easier to say, like, oh, that's not mine. Okay. Like they're on their
Yeah.
own journey.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think there's something I feel called to share with as well here, is that at the end of the day, like, I'm still human. And like, I think that's been the biggest journey that I've had to make peace with in the last couple of months, is like, even though I have these great tools,
Mm,
it doesn't mean that life doesn't happen to me, and it doesn't mean that I don't still go through struggles or go
yeah.
through challenges. Yes, there's a lot of challenges that I've been thrown lately that I'm able to navigate with a lot more peace and clarity and strategy, without, and the previous RRT me, or the previous person me, would have just gotten completely like sucked into the vortex of emotion with some things. I'm able to navigate things with way more calm and clarity. But at the same time, like, I have to remind myself sometimes, because I put the pressure on myself. The pressure only comes from me, right? Is that I am just human,
Mm,
and I'm also just living this human life. And that's okay to feel shitty sometimes. It's okay to not still feel good enough. Even though like I've cleared so much of that, every now and then it shows up, especially as a mom, and I'm trying to navigate being, teaching these little individuals, but you're not perfect,
yeah.
and you're going to mess up sometimes. And so, it's like, okay, but again, like, having this tool has helped me immensely, like not having the mom guilt, and I can go through something and quickly release it pretty quickly.
Yeah.
But there are times when I'm like, wow, I'm really caught up in this. I'm preoccupied by this, right? So, it's part of this journey. And I
Yeah.
think that to me is my lesson right now, is like, that's okay. It's also okay not to be okay. And it's also okay not to be perfect,
Yeah.
right? Like, that's something I really feel so like called to share, is like, there is this pressure of like perfection, right? Of like, and especially when people see me online, they expect that my life is just perfect all the time. And it's not. I have I have lots of crazy shit that happens all the time, right? I just don't always show what's going on all the time. And again, that's what we were talking about. Like, you're like, well, I sort of know you because I only know you from like, social media.
Yeah.
And I do try show things more authentically when things have, I've been very vocal about my relationship with my oldest son, and I've had a lot of challenges there, a lot of challenges. And that is probably one of the biggest places in my life. But I'm, I am working on being authentic in that area too. And I share my struggles and what I've been through with him, and like how much it has affected me, right? I do RRT with him, and I have somebody who does RRT with us for him, who specializes with kids.
Yeah.
So, but again, like, I'm so solution driven, so I will find solutions. I'm so, focused on, like, there is a way. There's always a way. We don't have to struggle and suffer through it.
Yeah.
Like, my suffering is less, but it doesn't mean I don't feel suffering at some point.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, I mean, like you said beautifully, like, Jesus, being human is fucking messy sometimes. And like, there's no tool or
yeah.
modality that gets you to a level where like that goes away. Like, it just isn't.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's exactly, that's perfectly said. Like, we can fill our toolbox with so many things, but it's never going to take away your humanness.
Yeah.
That's part of this journey. And I think when we accept that acceptance and releasing any expectation and just easing into it more, like, really open space for, like, and this is, I'm sharing this because this is literally like my message of what I've been going through the last couple of days. I literally yesterday was like, it's okay. It's okay to feel this right now. It doesn't mean you're a failure, like, even because you have all these tools, it doesn't mean you're a failure because you're feeling human. Like, that's just ridiculous to think,
Yeah.
right? So, it's part of this whole journey.
Yeah. But I think even like one of the things, like, I mean, really the whole path I've been on, but some of the like tools have taught me is like to be kinder and more gentle with myself. And
Yeah,
even like in learning my human design chart and things like that, it shows you like what you need to be yourself. Like, you're talking about your
definitely.
two
Yeah,
line and I need my me time. And like, it helps like guide you so that when shit hits the fan, you're like,
yeah,
okay, what do I need to remember? Like, how do I get
yeah,
through
yeah.
this? How do I
It's a
navigate?
constant remembering. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. It's a constant remembering. And, but again, like, we get sucked into this human world, because it's all around us 24 hours in your face. And like, you have to navigate, you know, other people
Yeah.
and other people's emotions and desires and things. And yeah, I think it's just very much to that point of, like, they're great tools to help you remember, but it's also okay if you don't.
Yeah.
Because that pressure alone, if you put too much pressure on yourself, to have it all figured out or to be perfect, or, you know, then you're doing yourself a disservice as well, right? Then
Yeah.
you're only creating more stress in your system,
Yeah.
which is, useless,
Yeah.
worse than useless.
I think I want to talk about like the integration of the two, because what,
Yeah,
like, where I think it's so beautiful because there is like you said, RT is like this silent cure. Like, you get rid of the shit that's there, that's filed away from traumas you've experienced. You get to the root cause of it, yank it out, dissolve it. Like, but there is sort of this like integration. It's almost like uh, I don't know, like in like when you first meet someone and you're like in the honeymoon phase, and then like you go into reality and like you meet the
yeah,
parents or you meet the kids or you meet whatever, right? So there's this like, I always joke with one of my friends, like, yeah, if I were like on a island by myself, like I wouldn't have any trauma, I wouldn't have anything, or like I resolve something like myself, and then I go into the real world and I'm like, okay, now I have to like embody,
yeah.
integrate, like, so like, I assume you still do separate like RT and human design, but like, how does it look when you, like, I think you said you do human design and then like where things come up, then you'll like weave RT in, or what does that look like with clients for you?
Yeah, so it's interesting. It's definitely mutated and changed over the last, like, year or so, because predominantly most of my clients were all human design, right? And then as I started trickling in RRT, a lot of my human design clients then, like, translated into RRT clients. Now I have more people coming to me for RRT and then they translate into human design clients because and again, this is why I love these two tools, because I just find that they work so beautifully together.
Mm,
So I feel like just each of them is just a door, right? And once that door, or it's the channel, right, a pathway to me, and once they get to me, then there's it's hard not to like look at it from all aspects. So even I often ask a lot of my RRT clients, even though they're not coming to me for human design, I ask them for their chart details because I can then um, navigate an RRT session
mm,
based on their design. I look at like what is their signature essence. If they're a generator, it's obviously satisfaction. If they're a projector, it's success. So I weave those words into my RRT process with them
mm,
because that makes more sense, because then they can connect to that energy, which is more elevating and more upgrading. Like I can connect to their subconscious in a much deeper, more profound way because I'm connecting to them
yeah.
as an individual, right? Whereas like just using overarching key phrases may not necessarily hit. Um, if I say satisfaction to a projector, that they get it. Okay, satisfaction, sure. But if I say success, a projector really gets
Mm,
that. You know, so that's like certain ways that I have found that it just weaves well together,
yeah.
right? They're just beautifully operated. And we talk a lot about conditioning in human design. And obviously, conditioning can leave traces of trauma, right? Self worth issues and fears and guilt, all those things we talked about. So I feel like RRT is a way of releasing conditioning, especially deep seated conditioning. Like having a parent who wasn't around, who worked a lot, right? And then the message to the child is, well, I have to be a workaholic in order to be seen and to be appreciated and accepted, and or it could go the other way, whatever, it just depends. And that's very much also based on someone's human design,
Yeah.
right? Which is what I've seen, at least. I'm not saying
I'm
that's
like, are you looking at my chart right now? 'Cause-
right. I mean, that's the thing. So we can look at like where the activations are, where your gifts are, where what your
yeah.
channels, your centers, all of that. So it helps me really personalize
Mm,
the experience for that client
yeah.
on a way that I feel makes the effects far more, you know, just deep seated.
Yeah.
So that's why I love it so much. And I'm not a very like super structured person when it comes to my sessions. Like I very much go off, especially with my human design. Like I don't say, okay, we have to talk about this now, and then we talk about that, and then we talk about it. I look at somebody's chart and I see what speaks to me, and then I ask them what they're going through, what's obviously drawn you to me. What is it? There's something you feel missing in your life
Yeah.
that's brought you here, that um, that you're seeking. So then we go, we get into the nitty gritty, and then I can like explain it on a way that, and then as I'm listening to people talk, you know, because I'm trained to listen
Hmm.
differently than regular talk therapist. We're trained to hear what people are saying, and then gain a little bit more understanding. So I then go a little bit deeper or ask more questions to really show my interest and understanding of whatever that person's been going through. And then I say, obviously we're approaching this, let's say we're doing a human design first, right? And then it's easy to then weave in and show the person what's coming up can be released so easily and quickly, and how it'll make such a difference in their life,
Yeah.
right? How it'll then help them align to these elements of their human design, right?
Yeah. I love that you said like trained to listen. Well, first of all, like my conscious sun gate is gate 13. So,
Okay.
but I feel like even then adding RRT, like I always think of what's the movie where he's like, I see dead people. And I'm like,
Oh yeah.
I hear limiting beliefs. Like when people talk,
Yeah.
like I hear limiting beliefs. I'm like, oh, so your problem's
Yeah.
this. And they're like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Like,
Totally. And like, and I think that has come with time of training with John. The more I've integrated into the community, the more I'm able to like hear those things
Yeah.
immediately. And I really find myself, I feel like I feel like I connect dots very
Mm.
well. And I feel like that's my gift with doing RRT, is that I can listen to somebody say something and then I connect the dots to like how it's showing up. Are they thinking life should be different than it is? And then following that path with then gets to like, going through the process of figuring out how we release that, right? So, yeah, I mean, it's at first though it was very daunting. I remember going through, it was like ups and downs with RRT. I'd get to a place where I'm like, man, I got this. I know what's going on. I got this. And then I would go through a workshop with John, and I'd be like, oh my gosh, I have no clue. Like, I don't got this. But then bit by bit, and I honestly, the best way for me at least was I learned through teaching.
Yeah.
And so I had to throw myself out there and just start doing sessions, because the more sessions I did, the more I started learning more and deeper about it, that it helped me so much.
Mm.
So now I feel so confident. Um, and again, I personalize it. I make it my own. It's my own spin. Obviously, it's very RRT based and very RRT, the whole baseline of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not a robot.
Yeah. No, I
I am
think
me.
that's what I like struggle with, like all like the courses where you learn different modalities is like some people then I'm like, oh, did you learn from this person? Because you sound exactly like them. And so I
Yeah,
think
yeah,
like we're all here to be us, and like we get to use these tools in a way that integrates, like, like he's not using human design and RRT, and
no.
that makes sense to you,
I
and you
actually
can.
I did like an Instagram live with him once, and it's so funny because I have his design. I know what his design is, but I started asking him questions that I like kind of felt that I thought were like valuable questions relating to RRT, and he just like sideswiped them and went straight into his own thing, which, I mean, if you know John, that is just like to a T essence of him, which I love him. But it was just funny how I was like, okay, I guess we're not talking about human design here. We'll just go into RRT, which was cool with me. I was totally fine with it,
Yeah.
but it was just funny. He's very integrated into it. I mean, and that's what's so great about him, is he's living, breathing,
Mm,
like pure example of how much he truly loves and believes in what he does, because he
yeah.
is so involved in the community and so involved in constantly teaching us. Like, we're always learning. We don't just get to certification and it stops there.
Yeah.
Like, you're in a membership with a community of people that are all doing it. We'd have like almost weekly workshops where we're constantly being shown different videos and works, and working with people in real time, like going through things that have been suffering with. So it's a very different approach, and I think that's the key missing ingredient
Yeah.
in mental health.
Yeah.
Which is why, again, why I was so attracted to it and just jumped straight into it. It just made more sense to me than anything else I had been exposed to.
Yeah. That Manny Jen full body fuck yes.
Yeah, yeah. Exactly.
We're doing this.
I'm not exactly full body. Yes, I'm in. Let's go. And like I said, I'm still in it because it still lights me up. But if one day I'm like, meh, I'm kind of done with this, then I know that it's okay for me to step away.
Mm,
That it doesn't mean that I'm a failure or I haven't given it my all, or whatever bullshit stories you want to tell yourself. But that was also the beauty of understanding myself as a man. Jen was like, it's okay to like just take up pottery for 2 months and then be done with it, because I got what I needed to get out of it, and now I can move on and find something else. That's
yeah.
so how I operate.
Yeah. Even when you said you're like, I connect dots, I'm like, I feel like that's because like you get what you need and you move on. So like
Yeah,
you see how things integrate very quickly, and like
yeah. I
even
we
like
and man Janes are like fast learners, and and we're just doing, like, my mind works in a very different pace, and I can just be like, I'm picking up things like all the time. And also the 2 in my profile and my 6. So yeah, I've definitely seen how that's translated in learning. I mean, I'm 40 and I'm still learning. Like, I love it. Like, I'm still, I mean, and that's the fascinating thing, is I was the worst student at school because I didn't give a shit about it. I was
Ditto.
like, oh, I want to learn about, like, how, I don't know, what happened in 1925 in, some dark place in Africa. Like, what does that help me now? So again, it's like, wow, I wish I could have learned something along these
Yeah.
lines. And I think the world is opening up more. I think there's more access and availability to all these different things. Like, this wasn't a career when I was in school.
Yeah.
So when I was in school, it wasn't like, what do you want to be? Oh, I want to be a mindset coach, or I want to teach people and guide people to live authentically. People will be like, what? You're crazy. So I love how it's opening up now. I
Yeah.
love how there's more openness to the weird ways of the world, right? And like, it's beautiful. And that's why we've got to carve our own way sometimes, and just own those things so beautifully, because you never know what it's going to be in 10 years. If
Yeah.
you feel, if there's somebody out there who's like, I don't know, doing something that seems so weird now, but it feels so right to them, just follow that.
Yeah.
Follow the feeling. That's what it's all about. From like an authentic place of like, oh man, if it feels good. I literally say to people, I'm like, does it feel like it's expansive, or does it feel like it's contracting?
Hmm.
Because then, if it feels expansive, like, oh wow, yes, I want to do that, then follow that. That's all you need to know. But if it feels like restrictive and contracting and small, then no, that's not meant for you.
Yeah.
So that's, again, just a small key thing.
Yeah. Oh my God, amazing. I can't believe it's already been well over an hour here. I'm like, oh, geez, I could just talk all day to you. Kim, where can
Like I
people
said, give me a microphone and I will talk.
where can people find you?
Yes, I have a website that's probably one of the best places. It's just kimwellington.com.
Okay,
And then also my Instagram is at Kim Welly, Welly. And those are the 2 sort of channels of communication that people come to me through.
perfect. I will put those all in the show notes. Thank you so much for being here. It
Oh,
was
this has been
epic.
so great, Vicky. So, so awesome. I love these are the kind of expansive conversations that should be happening more in the world, right? And then, like, finding solutions. Okay, now let's get human design into schools. How are we going to do that? Let's get
Someone
actionable.
give this girl a mic.
I know. Well, I am going to start my own podcast, but it's been something that's like in the works. I've been thinking about it for so long, but people keep telling me to do it. So one day.
When
But
it
I'm
feels
actually
right.
about to launch a course, actually, which is combining human design and RRT,
Ooh,
and teaching people how to embody financial freedom. And so
amazing.
I'm moving more into the one to many frameworks. I've been doing one-on-ones for so long, and that's been so rewarding and so lovely, but it is only so much of me available.
Yeah.
But I want to get this out to more people. So that's why I started, moving into doing more workshops and master classes and teachings in that way. So that is something that I'm literally launching next week. So, which is very exciting.
Ooh.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you guys know where to find her. I'll put it in the show notes. Thank you so much, Kim.
Thanks so much, Vicky. It was so great chatting with you.
And everyone else, we'll see you in the next episode.